My dog literally just groaned while I made that joke. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Committee on Labor and Housing. We have a morning of work sessions ahead of us. Happy Monday to everyone. Before we jump in, we're going to do introductions. I'm Maddie Daughtry. I represent Senate District 24, which are the communities of Hartswell, North Yarmouth, Freeport, Pownell, and Brunswick, my hometown, and I will pass it over to introduce my esteemed co-chair, Representative Sylvester.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry. My name is Mike Sylvester. I represent District 39, which is the Eastern Peninsula portion of Portland and the Fighting Islands of Casco Bay. And want to welcome you all to the Labor and Housing Committee this morning.
And Senator Guerin.
Good morning. I'm Senator Stacey Guerin, coming to you from the chilly woods of Penobscot County, Senate District 10.
And then Senator Hickman, are you with us? I see his little dot on the screen. Yes, no, going once, going twice. We'll circle back to Senator Hickman if he joins us. We'll move on. Representative Bradstreet.
Good morning. I'm Representative Dick Bradstreet from House District 80. That's Vassalboro, Windsor, Somerville, and part of Augusta.
Thank you. Representative Cuddy.
Good morning, I'm Scott Cuddy. I represent House District 98, which is Winterport, Frankfort, Searsport, and Swanville, and I live in Winterport.
And Representative Drinkwater.
Good morning, Representative Gary Drinkwater, District 121.
And Representative Gear.
Good morning, I'm Representative Tracy Gear, and I represent Kennebunkport and the coastal portions of Biddeford and Kennebunk. And I want to have a day when we all try to do each other's districts.
The pop quiz. Representative Morris.
Good morning. I am State Representative Joshua Morris, and I represent the towns of Turner, Leeds, and Livermore, House District 70.
Thank you. And Representative Pebworth.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Pebworth. I represent House District 133, which includes Blue Hill, Brooksville, Brooklyn, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
Thank you. Representative Prescott.
Well, hi, I'm Dwayne Prescott. I represent Waterboro and Lyman, House District 17.
And Representative Rader.
Hi, I'm Amy Rader, and I represent House District 125, a portion of Bangor.
And Representative Warren.
Good morning. I'm Representative Sophie Warren, and I'm fortunate to represent part of my hometown in Scarborough, Maine.
Wonderful. One of these days, I'm going to just do it all in reverse alphabetical order and throw everyone for a loop. This morning, we are also ably assisted by our wonderful OPLA analyst, Steve Langland, and also by our committee clerk, Justin Purvis. If you have any issues, please, let us know. We've had some funky things with the Zoom link, so committee members, let us know if you need anything from us. As a reminder, legislature is in full swing right now. So for those watching, if you see people popping in and out, people have all sorts of bills. So you'll see people coming and going. We do have work sessions today. And unless I haven't heard otherwise from any of the committee members or any of the sponsors, but I was intending to take them in numerical order. Seeing no opposition, let's jump right in. Representative Sylvester.
Just very quickly, we didn't have a chance to chat about caucuses. And so I was wanted to ask the other members, did we want to do it as we went? Did we want to do one before we got started? But I missed the hand by just a second.
I didn't say what bill we were opening. So I was just, doing a percussion section over here. Absolutely. And Senator Guerin, did you have a question along the same line?
It is exactly the same line, and we would like to caucus before. And we thought maybe 10 to 15 minutes, we could probably get it all done.
Sounds amenable to me. So Justin, if you wouldn't mind breaking us out into our caucus rooms. And for those watching, we'll, let's say 15 minutes just to give people enough time. It is Monday. And then we will rejoin. And for folks who are watching, we will be taking the bills in numerical order. So with that, we will wait for Justin to send us through the magical Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole. Let's see. This is where I feel like we need hold music. Justin, do you need anything from us on the break rooms?
No, I'm just getting you all in right now, making sure I don't miss anybody. I got a long list of people, so it's hard to catch everybody's name. So I'll just give you a couple minutes and I'll get you all set up. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone while we're waiting?
Does everyone have a good weekend?
Definitely.
Yes, I see
Beautiful.
those who were at Sunday River made it back.
Yeah.
It's great.
The middle school chess team that I had to emergency help out and take over coaching for ended up winning their regionals for the first time in the history of the school. So we're very excited for the kids.
And I'm
Congratulations.
sure you take full credit for that, Representative.
100%. Yes, 100%.
Well, he should. He was their best player.
I was excited I got to take our new puppy for her first ever cross-country ski, which I'm always a little bit nervous when you have a dog around, the poles, and she did wonderful. So got lots of, maybe some good joring in her future.
Incredible. I'm sure there's some wonderful, very cute photos on like an Instagram or a Facebook, just so I could have the full context.
I will definitely have to put them up. It was a lovely day before. It sounds like we're going to all get rain on Tuesday. So bye-bye snowpack along the coast.
So may I inquire what kind of puppy you have?
Yes, we have a Catahoula leopard dog mix. So she's half Catahoula, and then the other half, we like to say dog by committee. Just looks like you took a regular size Catahoula and shrunk her down to about 40 pounds. And then we have a tree walker coonhound who was sort of showing her the ways of skiing.
And how
Sounds
old
like you're going to have some people some dogs pulling you along. That's a great deal.
Oh yeah, my old dog, we used to do that.
All right, I have all the rooms set up now. If you are ready to go.
Perfect. Take it away.
All right. See you in a little bit.
We are finished and back. Any sign of our Democratic colleagues?
No.
Okay.
Maybe we should ask for more time, huh?
Stacy, this is Paul again. Pretty sad about Mel Newendike.
Yes, my dear sweet friend. He was such a gentle man. I really loved him.
I knew him quite well. I recruited him.
He loved to talk about his farm and how many bales of hay he was going to get, and really nice.
Well, he had a lot of faith too.
Yes, he did. I am sure, as I said on the prayer caucus, that he received the greeting of "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
No question in my mind, Stacy. None in
Yeah.
mine whatsoever. I've
Yeah.
been to his house. They had a very nice farm. He was a good friend with Gary Knight. Do you remember Gary Knight?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good friends with him. Mel worked in the bank too for a while.
Oh, did he? I don't think we ever talked about that. He loved his farm so much. He loved to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He,
And he had a great bill that was stepped down off in welfare, back to work. And he was so proud of it because he understood that you couldn't come to this cliff and you fall off.
he's a
So
great guy.
he had worked hard on that bill, and it passed the House the first time. It passed the House the second time, unanimous, no discussion. Third time, no discussion, and they killed his bill, and he felt so bad about it. I said, absolutely just a partisan thing now. That is election year, and they didn't want you to have it under your name.
Yeah, they never beat him.
No, they didn't.
It was one. He has relatives in Greenville.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, Eddie Jean and Otis Gray are related to them.
Gray is their last name?
Gray.
Huh.
Gray. And I've known him for years. At some point, I'll introduce you to him.
Okay, sounds good. In the meantime, God bless Mel's family. I'm sure Esther is very sad at the loss of her dad.
Yeah, I got to sign out here just
Okay.
Welcome back, folks. We are just coming back in from our caucuses, so I'm just going to do a quick scan, but I think we have everyone. Let's see, a few others. Still waiting on a few. Okay, I'm seeing screens coming live, so I think I'm going to bring everyone back together. So I'm going to jump right into work sessions. And up first, so I'm pulling up my list. Of course, now my computer is spooling. Okay, up first, we're going to open the work session on LD 1753, an act regarding the retirement of law enforcement officers under the participating local district retirement program. And this is from Senator Davis. I'm going to kick it over to Steve to give us the analysis and then invite the bill sponsor to come forward.
So this bill changes special plans under the PLD program. So law enforcement officers can retire after 25 years of creditable service, regardless of age, instead of after reaching 55 years of age, as it specifies in current law. We heard testimony that there are about 310 PLDs, and right now they can offer similar plans, but they're not required to. So the committee should consider whether the intent behind the legislation is that the PLDs be required to offer such a retirement plan. There was testimony from Maine PERS that amendments to the PLD benefit plans are not effective unless the PLD advisory committee recommends such plans in a process of rulemaking. And it was also noted that the state pays no share of PLD retirement. It's funded exclusively by employee and employer contributions.
Do you have any questions for Steve before we move on? Representative Sylvester.
Thank you. I was wondering if we could bring the sponsor forward.
Absolutely. Representative Prescott, the thumbs up, I assume it's just a thumbs up, not a hand.
No, I actually had a question.
All right, please jump in, and then we'll also get the bill sponsor queued up to have him come in as well.
All right. It says this is paid for by the employer. Isn't that us, being the state?
Yes, but there are no statutory benefits in terms of contribution rates. So, and Ms. Moran could probably answer this question better than I could, but my understanding is that, so if a plan is more lucrative for a PLD, then it's going to be more expensive. So a PLD is not necessarily a municipality either. It could be like a water district. So the PLD gets to choose which plan it offers to its members. So those costs are shared between the employee and the employer. So I think you're correct in that it's public employees, but it's a different program entirely from Maine PERS and how it's set up and maintained.
Representative Prescott, did that answer your question?
Sort of, but it'll be fine for now. Thank you.
Of course. And Representative Sylvester, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to give a similar answer to what Steve gave, and that the districts are largely municipalities or counties, that are employers of law enforcement. And so unless the water district had law enforcement, to make sure the pipes are clear or whatever, it's mostly municipalities and counties. And so those are the employers who are paying into the plan, and the state doesn't give them any portion of that, as far as I know.
So
yes, Representative Prescott.
Doesn't that make it an unfunded mandate on municipalities?
I would defer to someone who has an answer. Mr. Langland, do you have anything on this?
It's possible. So as we know, what happens is when the committee votes on a bill, the fiscal office sort of flags whether the legislation is an unfunded mandate, but the committee ultimately has discretion as to whether it agrees to that assessment. So typically we don't necessarily deal with that at this stage. So what happens is if it comes back flagged as a mandate, the committee would then decide whether it is in fact a mandate, and then if it wants to either fund it or change the substance so it is not deemed a mandate, or whether it wants to insert language asserting that it believes it's not a mandate. So the committee does have the final discretion in terms of determining that, but typically what happens is the fiscal office will flag that.
All right.
Thank you. Representative Warren?
I'm curious to ask the bill sponsor a little bit more about the intent behind this bill, if they're here to.
Absolutely. Senator Davis has been able to join us. So Senator Davis, if you're ready for questions.
Certainly, good morning.
Perfect. Representative Warren, I don't know if you want to jump in or.
Yes, unless I guess Representative Sylvester, I know, called the sponsor for it. So if you wanted to be in.
He's deferring to you. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. So I may not be the only one that has this question, but if you could speak a little bit to this maybe overly simplistic concept that I have when looking at this bill in its current form, with current language. If you enter at 20 years old, that you could perceivably retire maybe at around age 45. And speaking to that, what Representative Prescott was talking about, maybe the questions around an unfunded mandate. So if you could speak a little bit to the intention of the bill and maybe how you see a dynamic like that.
I can tell you what happened. I was approached by a deputy, and he'd been on the job for a long time, and he wanted to retire. And under the plan he was under, he couldn't. So I told him I'd put a bill in, and I did. I since have learned quite a lot about the system. I talked to Kathy Moran at the retirement system. I see she's on here, and other people. They do currently offer a 25-year and out plan, one with a COLA and one without a COLA. If you pass this, if I had known all that, perhaps I might not have put the bill in, but I did. I told him I would. I do believe that this would be a mandate. Currently, between the employers of the state of the counties and the communities and the employees, there's about $122 million paid into the system per year. And if you add to that on them, I disagree. I've been around here a long time. I believe that would be a mandate, and a mandate takes 2/3.
So Senator Davis.
I guess that's what I would say to you. It is these plans are subject to collective bargaining as well, and the organization that this fellow belongs to is unionized, and they do have collective bargaining. So there's no reason why they can't go to the table and do that. I'm quite familiar with collective bargaining. I've been involved in that before. So I guess that's what I can tell you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Davis. I'm going to use my chair's privilege and ask, with your comments and the work you've been doing on this measure, are you saying that you think maybe the bill is not necessary at this time with the options you've since discovered, or?
That would be what I feel, yes. If I'd known more about it, and then, like I said, last week, I didn't know anything about it. Then it was snowstorms and everything else. But if I had if I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't put it in.
Thank you.
Because it is negotiable, and that is the issue to me. It's a negotiable. Collective bargaining is fair, and they can negotiate it. And I've always supported that strongly.
Thank you, Senator Davis.
Thank
Just wanted to clarify that as we move forward in our conversation, to be respectful of the bill sponsors' wishes and everything that you've learned on this journey. With that, I do have two questions. I have Representative Cuddy, followed by Representative Sylvester.
This may be a question for someone else, but my understanding with that state law controls retirement, which is why we're here and talking about these. So I was under the impression that it was not negotiable under a collective bargaining agreement. How one retires. And this could be a misunderstanding I have around the participating local districts. And maybe, I don't know if there's somebody who is expert, if Ms. Moran would know this or not, but I would appreciate some feedback on that.
Well, that's where I got the information, so you can, you can ask her.
That would be great. Madam Senator, if you don't mind calling Ms. Moran forward.
I was going to say, I see her already popping onto the Zoom. So Ms. Moran, if you wouldn't mind jumping in, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. In general, I don't believe retirement is negotiable in the way that you're defining it. However, once the plan is established, so which is the both for the state employees and for the participating local districts, there are established plans. And within that plan, there are options that are available that are negotiated. So in the PLD world, there are several special plans, for example, that are available, and the locals do negotiate with their employees. Once they've adopted main PERS as their plan, that's their retirement, then they negotiate, typically the law enforcement do, as to which of those plans they adopt. The same thing happens in the state plans. If you look at the collective bargaining agreements for state police, for example, they've negotiated a certain retirement special plan for that group of people. So at that level, it is something that they do negotiate.
So clarifying follow-up.
Perfect. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Senator. So they can't negotiate sort of writ large, but within main PERS, they can negotiate which one of the plans they can get into.
So I'm not a labor law person. I think probably Representative Sylvester probably knows way more about that than I do. I do know that once they've adopted main PERS, that they do have the ability to negotiate the specific plan. They can't change the plan, for example, can't negotiate the terms of the plan, but they can pick negotiate which plan they're going to be offered by agreement.
Thank you.
And then I have Representative Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Ms. Moore has said it absolutely correct. You can negotiate within the plan. And then, so for example, older employees with more seniority could vote a worse plan for new hires, or they could vote a better plan, or they, without changing their own structure, or they could vote if they wanted to move into a better plan, if as a benefit that the employer was willing to pay for, all of those sorts of things. But as I look at it right now, it seems like all of those options that the bill aspires to are already available to the workers. And so I would, if it's appropriate, I would make a motion, Madam Chair.
Go right ahead.
And make the motion ought not to pass.
And seconded, we have a motion of ought not to pass from Representative Sylvester and seconded by Representative Warren. Before I call the motion, any other conversation on the bill? Seeing none, I do just want to thank the bill sponsor, Senator Davis, for bringing this before us. Like you, I think many of us were not aware of this or knowledgeable about all of this. And they say that every day in the legislature is like a day in school and we all get to learn something new. So thank you for teaching us something new this week.
Well, thank you. And I certainly have learned a lot about the retirement system that I didn't know. And Kathy Moran has been very helpful teaching me about that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Representative Sylvester.
And with that, Justin, if you wouldn't mind calling the roll, please.
Senator Daughtry.
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Gearin.
Just to be clear, the motion on the floor is ought to pass. Is that correct?
Ought not to pass.
Ought not to. Okay, yay.
Senator Gearin, yay. Senator Hickman. Senator Hickman, I thought he was with us, but I'll come back. Representative Sylvester.
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet.
Yay.
Representative Bradstreet, yay. Representative Cuddy.
Yay.
Representative Cuddy, yay. Representative Drinkwater.
Yay.
Representative Drinkwater, yay. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Representative Gear, yes. Representative Morris.
Yes.
Representative Morris, yes. Representative Pepworth.
Yes.
Representative Pepworth, yes. Representative Prescott.
Yes.
Representative Prescott, yes. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Representative Warren, yes. And Senator Hickman is still absent. So we have 12 in favor of the motion, 1 absent.
Thank you so much. So with that is unanimous of those present and voting of the ought not to pass. Thank you to everyone. I will close the work session on LD 1753. Up next, I will open the work session on LD 1874, an act to clarify COVID-19 paid leave for school employees from Representative Bruce White. I'll pass it over to our committee's analyst to do the initial overview.
So this bill amends the law requiring school administrative units to restore up to 15 sick leave days used by a public school employee affected by COVID-19 to instead grant up to a maximum of 15 days of paid leave for the purposes described in the law from January 1st, 2021 until the maximum of 15 days has been reached. The sponsor, Representative Bruce White, he had an amendment that provides that a public school employee who used sick leave prior to the effective date of this legislation shall have that leave time restored. A public school employee affected by COVID-19 who did not have sick leave or any other form of paid leave under LD 993 shall have that time compensated for. If you recall, there was a lot of confusion about sort of why the bill sort of was interpreted the way that it was. So you can see in subsection 1, it says a public school employee who was affected by COVID-19 and used sick leave prior to the effective date of this section. But there was another section of the law that said this section applies to any sick leave used by an employee from January 1st, 2021, until the employee has been granted a maximum of 15 days of sick time. So because the language in subsection 1 said prior to the effective date of this section, which was October 18th, there was some interpretation that because of the language in subsection 1 that any sick leave time used after that time was sort of null and void. As I indicated earlier, Representative White presented his amendment at the public hearing, and his amendment specifies that any public school employee who used sick leave shall have that restored. The bill, as drafted, said that the employee could make the request and then the school administrative unit would comply, but this, instead of having the employee make the request, it mandates that the employee gets that time back. And it also specifies that those who used unpaid leave due to circumstances in LD 993 as enacted, they can get compensated for that time regardless of whether they were eligible for sick leave as the law was enacted in October. So the way it stands now is the bill says paid leave must be given to a public school employee for up to 15 days for COVID-19 related reasons. And it's effective from January 1st until those 15 days are given. So the amendment, one thing I wanted to point out was the amendment specifies that public school employees have to be given that sick leave time used under LD 993 back, but paid leave in this amendment is effective from January 1st, 2021 until those 15 days are used. So there could be a situation where the sick leave is restored to the employee, but then it's sort of retroactively counted as paid leave in the place of the sick leave that was used. We don't yet have a preliminary fiscal note, and I did attach the amendment to the analysis, which you have.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee? We do have the bill sponsor, Representative White, here as well. Representative Sylvester?
I was hoping that the sponsor could come forward.
Absolutely. Representative White, would you mind telling us a little bit more about the amendment? I know you did in your testimony, but anything you'd like to add before we begin our deliberations?
Well, thank you. And Steve did an awesome job. You have a great analyst there. It's amazing how he would recap that. And I thank him for that, working with me. So thank you, Senator Daughtry and Representative Sylvester and committee. So really, I think it really just cleans up the language. It certainly had a lot of support. And I just think it's important to get this passed to help our educators, and basically it clears it up what the original intent was.
Thank you. I have Representative Sylvester with a question, followed by Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative White, welcome. And thanks for bringing us this bill. I had two questions. One is, it seems to me like what the amendment does is to basically state exactly what the intent of this committee was in passing the bill, voting for or against it, and that it just basically says do what it was supposed to do in the first place. Is that a fair summary?
That is exactly correct.
And then my second question is, I noted you had an emergency on it. Do you feel like the emergency is necessary? I've heard feedback both ways.
Well, I think it would be nice to put it into place, but I think that, I understand that it's tough to get an emergency bill passed, and I certainly think to get this bill passed, if we strip out the emergency, that probably would make sense.
Okay, thank you very much.
Senator Drinkwater.
Wow, I've been elevated to senator. Thank you, Madam Chair.
It's a day everyone's getting a promotion all day long.
No pay raise.
No. Doggone it.
Only for 15 days.
All right. Representative White, you've done a fantastic job, in my opinion, on trying to correct something that wasn't intended. My concern is that we are injecting ourselves into local collective bargaining agreements. So I would like to ask your opinion on that one. And also, this is a large cost. Would this also be considered an unfunded mandate?
Thank you, Representative Drinkwater. Well, as far as the unfunded mandate, I'm not sure, and I know there was some talk on the previous bill about that as well. So I'm not sure what that is or where that would stand, but I'm not so sure that it's a collective bargaining issue. I believe we need consistency with our, schools, and this would provide the consistency we need to provide the, it's a pandemic, it's COVID related. So I think it's a unique situation. Most schools followed the intent of this bill and this law. And I think we just need to clarify it. It would actually save a great deal of money. And if you think about the bargaining and the grievances that may be put in, I think it'd save a great deal of money and time and energy on both employees and the school administration units.
And if I may, Madam Chair, since how I'm now a senator, I'd like to exert my right to an extra few minutes. It doesn't appear to have an end date in your amendment. Is this going to say, it ends when the pandemic is officially declared over?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, if something is COVID related, it's COVID related. That's what it says in the bill. So if a year from now there's no issues with COVID, then it wouldn't be a problem. So as long as there are COVID illnesses, then this bill would need to be, or this law would need to be in place. So.
All right, I'll give up my time and I'll be coming back. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Representative Prescott.
Thank you. Any kind of research will tell you that the sniffles is a form of COVID. Any kind of mild infection is COVID. It's been around since 1965. That's when they named it. So don't you think we should put on this only if a pandemic is declared? Because otherwise, it's just an extra 15 days. And every time, that's why you go for a flu shot every year, because things change. So this whole thing about variant, this is normal. It's been going on forever. So we need to be really clear on whether this is just when the government clears a pandemic and forces someone to take time off. Don't you think that?
Well, I don't know that, I wouldn't agree with that at all, actually. I think that this is, again, a unique situation. COVID is a serious issue, and our teachers are in the middle of it, and that the bill is clear.
I also will jump in to say that I think it's clear on the bill that, yes, we've had coronaviruses since, humans have basically first existed, but it's clear that this is dealing with COVID-19, which is a specific, type of a coronavirus. So I wouldn't be concerned about it getting confused with the common cold for purposes of this bill. With that, Representative Cuddy.
Thank you, Senator Daughtry. And I was wondering if I could pose a question to analyst Steve Langland. Steve, the bill that we passed that this is looking to correct, and I apologize for my god-awful research skills, Steve, but did that bill have a mandate on it when we passed it?
That bill did not.
Okay, so I don't see there being one added to this. And thank you very much.
Representative White, do you have something to add?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for clarifying that, Senator Daughtry, on the previous question. But also, I would say that whatever we need to do to get the bill passed, I understand the issue with the mandate. Sometimes I believe that can be complicated. I don't know how that will all work out. But whatever we need to do, if we need to make sure there's no unfunded mandate, then I'm happy to do whatever we need to do to fix the bill and correct it. But I think it's very clear. And again, it passed in both the House and Senate, the previous bill, with no debate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Representative White. And that's a good reminder. I have Representative Bradstreet, followed by the good Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative White, for bringing this forward. It's a very important issue. I know a lot of people are talking about this all over the state. Question I have, just for clarification, would this add 15 days of sick leave or paid leave to a teacher who will say maybe already, even after he's taken the requisite number of paid leave or sick leave days, even if he had, for instance, over 100 accumulated, as is in some of the contracts? I'd just like clarification on that if I could.
Yeah, good question. I don't think it would add anything. It would just, they just wouldn't get charged those days that they were out for COVID-related illnesses, or COVID-related if it was a child or some other reason too. So it doesn't add, but it offsets, credits them basically. So they don't lose the time, but they don't gain anything.
Mm-hmm. Clarifies procedures, I would say.
Correct.
Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative White, you said something that really stuck to me, that whatever we need to do to get this passed is we should do. And I really think that we as Republicans and you as the majority party, we should try for a unanimous vote on this. And I think we had that on 993. So here's what I would like to propose, because obviously this kind of goes against my beliefs as far as opening up, forcing the opening up of collective bargaining agreements and a local issue. What I'd like to propose, as perhaps we can come together on, is I did a deep dive over the weekend on this, and I've talked to a lot of teachers, and I've talked to one particular teacher that says, hey, I've got over 100 days accumulated. I don't need an extra 15 days. And then when we heard testimony saying, from the MEA and saying, there's a lot of new teachers that don't have accumulated enough days. So what I'm proposing is that let's take a number, and I'm using the number 30. If they have 30 days accumulated of leave, let's say that this would not apply to you. If you have under 30 days of accumulated leave, you're going to get an extra 15 days. And I also did a deep dive into where could the money come from. And as we all know, schools were entitled to some recovery money. And I went on the DOE's website and it lists all the schools and how much money they get. And I think there's over 150 that have applied for a tremendous amount of money and they've already received it. And then I went in and looked at the requirements on how they can spend that money. And it says, can ESSER funds be used to pay the contracts, overtime, and part-time during the COVID period? And if I'm reading that correctly, it says they can use this recovery money to pay for such things as these extra 15 days. So it would satisfy me as a Republican to say, hey, you know what? Let's limit it to under 30 days, you get 15 days. And let's direct the schools to use their American recovery money to pay for this, and therefore would not have an impact on the senior citizens now that are struggling, especially in my town, to even pay their taxes and all the higher costs with this rate of inflation. So I'd like to throw that out as a proposal. And I'll end it there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Drinkwater, and thanks for bringing that forward in the spirit of negotiation. That's a really interesting point. I have Representative Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also appreciate that, Representative Drinkwater. I think, anything we can do to get to unanimous on this, I agree. My questions, though, are looking, as I was also looking through my mail, the two issues seem to be folks who keep their leave for maternity and end of life care. And so teachers will stock their time over years, planning 2 years from now, I'm going to have a baby. 2 years from now, my mother might not be doing very well and I'll have to take some time. And so by making them use their own 30 for something that a school district can tell them that they have to take, that worries me. And I just sort of throw that out there for discussion. I think that they could also already use any money that they have available to them that the federal government says they can use to pay for this, but I would not be at all adverse to putting that clearly into the bill to make sure that they knew that they could do that, that if there were federal fund or state funds that were available, emergency funds to be able, that they could use that. I think that would make the law a lot clearer, and that would be a real improvement in the law or the bill as it stands right now. So those were my two thoughts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Sylvester. Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the spirit of us trying to come together on this bill, the good representative is absolutely correct. Unanticipated leaves. My sister retired as a teacher. She came down with cancer. She used up all of her sick time. That was unanticipated. So you can't always anticipate, well, I'm going to use this in a year because I'm going to have a baby. She was able, and all of our schools here in Maine have the same program. They have a sick bank, and a lot of teachers contribute that time to the sick bank. And my sister put in and requested sick time from the bank, and she was able to get paid while she was out undergoing cancer treatment. So I'm throwing that out for information for people. I use 30 days, Representative Sylvester. If somebody wanted to say, hey, you know what, let's call it 40 days, I think this is a bill that we can come together on and have a unanimous report. Thank you.
Representative Sylvester.
Would the good representative jump to 60? Because I think that that's a fair amount for both of the, in my mind, for both the sort of end of life as well as that and what you're talking about in terms of cancer. I just hate to see somebody have to use their time and then not have adequate time for what they needed in their life. So that's, and I know you care about the same thing. So that's.
Representative Drinkwater, I saw there was a little of I couldn't see whose hand was going up and going down.
I actually think that I need to talk to my caucus about that. And I think we can come back with a number
Mhm.
and let's see if we can come to agreement on this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Drinkwater. I actually have a question for anyone who can answer it, considering sort of the proposal we're discussing. I do have the same concerns. Obviously, one of my passions is working on family medical leave, and do have many friends who either have newborns who are teachers, or were trying to plan for maternity leave and kept having workplace exposures with COVID-19, or a young one that was exposed and had to keep taking the leave over and over again, and we're stuck where even the sick bay, like the sick bank, wasn't enough to be able to deal with it, because we're, teachers are some of our frontline workers on this, so they are dealing with this every single day. And I think that's sort of the crux of what we heard. I think there's one teacher from Mount Ararat that we heard talking about, his trying to accumulate and save for his cancer treatment while also having to keep going to quarantine. So my question is, thinking exactly what you're saying, either it's 30 or 60 Representative Drinkwater and finding that sort of days. My only thought is wondering if anyone could speak to, does that impact folks' retirement? When you're calculating out those days, would that mess with that trigger at all? And I don't know if there's anyone who can answer that. I'm seeing some nodding or shaking. I guess I'd throw that out to anyone who's in attendance or in the waiting room, if anyone has any thoughts about that, if they want to raise their hand or get in touch with the committee. But I don't know, Representative Drinkwater, would you like to take corner caucuses at this time, or?
Yes, please. Let's go to a corner caucus.
Absolutely.
Except we have no corner to run to.
Let's go to our next version of little Hollywood squares and go from there. So Justin, if you wouldn't mind putting us into our breakout rooms, and for folks following along, we'll be coming back together. And if there's anyone watching who has any information on the retirement calculation, please let me know. So, and everyone don't forget to hit join.
We have guests. Oh. Justin?
Yes.
Senator Garin had some issues. She may need a new link.
Okay.
We're going to wait for Senator Garin to be able to rejoin us. I know a couple of people got booted. So for those watching, just bear with us as we're coming back through the cyberspaces. Or should I say interwebs?
I sent that invite out to Senator Garin. Hopefully she can join us again.
Okay, I think we're just going to wait a few more. Hopefully she's able to find her way in.
My apologies. Apparently that automatically sent for Wednesday's meeting. So let me try this again. I don't know.
Justin, is Zoom, I'm wondering if it's having a like weird date issue since we're having so much trouble with the dates this morning. So
And if I might just add a little commentary here, this is the downside of having Zoom meetings. If we were all there, this would have been taken care of and we would have already been on to the next bill.
true, as long as we didn't get stuck, going down for a coffee at the cafe and stuck in a conversation in the hallway.
True, and as long as we didn't have to arm wrestle over
Exactly.
something.
We were teasing a member at another committee who was notorious for getting lost in the hallway on his way to grab something, that he was getting lost in between Zoom rooms and he was just reliving his experience in a virtual manner. Okay, I'm going to give Stacy just a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I sent the invite again. Hopefully she'll be here.
Her and I are communicating offline. She has she got the first one. She went in. Now should be going into the second one.
Thank you. My apologies.
Justin, Senator Hickman says that she's waiting in an area where it says that she needs to be let in, but I'm not seeing her being let in, needing to be let in.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, me either. She might have to exit and join again. That's what usually works when we do it.
We're going to try one more time.
Okay.
Justin, we're in the same spot. Would you send her a link as if she is a co-sponsor? Just a general link?
I can try. I don't know why it's not working for her.
Justin, are you there?
We're here.
Oh, I'm sorry. My sound was down.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm working on it again. I don't know what's happening. I apologize. I'll see.
She's sending me a screenshot that says you are unable to rejoin this meeting because you were previously removed by the host.
Huh.
And so, so that's why I wonder if we can send her an anonymous one like we would. I think that's how we send it anyway. I don't actually pretend to know how we send it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to copy. She's registered. I'm trying to maybe just send that.
If she registers under a different email, she should be able to join. Justin or anyone, I can text Senator Guerin as well. Do we know if she's tried joining under a different email address?
I just
She has
emailed
not
her.
done that yet. We're trying something, one thing, other thing, and then I'll suggest that.
Yeah, I've texted her to be expecting something different. And maybe to try to register under a different address. We'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So I'd say I already see many of the committee members have their video off, but as we're waiting for Senator Garin, if everyone needs a stretch break or so, I'd say it's going to probably be at least 5 minutes. So apologies to the bill sponsors, but committee members, this might be a good time to go grab a cup of coffee or a sip of water or just stretch your legs. So unless Representative Fuster is coming on mic with good news.
She's going to try, she is putting in her legislative email, so she's going to try putting in a different email, and we'll give her 30 seconds here.
Still, if everyone wants to go stretch a little bit, we'll rejoin in just a bit.
I am seeing Senator Gearin under a different email on the Zoom meeting itself about 2 minutes ago. So
I don't see her square.
Yeah.
Do you see, did it allow you to admit her?
Well, I have not even been asked to admit her. So
yeah, that's the issue, really.
Good thing.
So I'm kind of like in paralysis. I can't do anything unless I'm prompted to do something.
And has IT given you any guidance on how to handle this, or? I wonder if actually, hold on, invite. I'm just gonna try sending her one from my end and see if it works.
I just sent her mine.
Okay.
And she got the same message that she had been kicked out and not able to. Justin,
Yes.
just checking in. Were we able to reach IT?
No, I can try them again. I'm not sure exactly what they can do about the matter, but whether they reach out to her or not, but let me go ahead and give them a call.
Yeah, try them again. And then what would happen if we shut down the meeting? Would we all need new links?
Yes, I can send those links, but the meeting would have to be live streamed and set up all over again.
Okay, all right. I was just checking. All right, try IT, see what they have to say.
Sure.
Thanks.
Senator Guerin has texted me and said she's tried about 10 different links, but they all say you were removed from the meeting and cannot go back in, I guess, regardless of the link. So I'm not sure how that's remedied.
Yeah.
They're using her IP address is what they're doing. And that's why, so they're using her location from internet so that if there was somebody who was being really unruly and we removed them, they couldn't keep coming in, is why it's set up that way. So, so we will endeavor to persevere. We might have to close down and come back. Or the other option would be to have her try to call in order to participate in the meeting, but then we wouldn't be able to see her. So we'd have to figure that out.
Representative Warren, you have your hand up.
If we, can she, is there anyone else at her house, or like how close is she from a local library, or if the IP is the issue? Like, can she access from her phone?
She's not close to much.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood.
Thank you for the suggestion, Sophie, Representative Warren. Justin, I think once you get off the phone with IT, I know you're having to multitask. It might be at this point, and Representative Drinkwater or anyone else, if you want to jump in, I think at this point it is important to have Senator Guerin to be part of this conversation and part of this process. So I would say if we know creating a new link, I know it's a bit of work, but in the interest of a public process, I think that would be my gut instinct, is to just start a new link over again so that we can all be accounted and present.
Madam Chair, if I may interject, what do you think about taking, like a 30-minute break so we can have lunch and we'll meet back on the 30 minutes?
I think that is an excellent suggestion, Representative Drinkwater.
I'm just full of good ideas today, Madam Chair.
You're just moving the ball forward, right?
That's right.
As we are literally dribbling along.
I think from basketball to football.
True. We'll just use every sports metaphor we can in one day. That's going to be our little goal. Representative White and other bill sponsors who are with us, I do apologize for this and the delay. We all know technology is an unruly beast and sometimes works in our favors and other times does not. I think we'll take, as we said, a 30-minute break. For those who are watching on YouTube, please watch the YouTube for a new streaming link. And those who are in the process, Justin will send you a new Zoom link. I will stay on. So for members, please, when you leave, like actually leave the meeting, I will stay on just to make sure once he gets off the phone with IT that he knows that's the route we're going to be taking forward. If it needs to be a little bit longer than 30 minutes, we'll communicate with everyone and get a hold of everyone. So just please keep an eye on your inboxes, and thank you for your patience. Representative Gear, you had a question?
Just to clarify, Madam Chair, we are just going to leave this meeting and look for a new link. Is that correct?
Correct. We are going to completely, because what's happening is for some reason, she has been removed from the meeting. So it will not, I'm impressed by Zoom's tenacity and ability to block people out. But in this case, it's not working towards our public process. Representative Warren?
Well, I guess any members of the public will I guess in my ignorance, I'll just say, is the process the same as how they got here now?
Correct, but a different link. So for members who are in the Zoom, you should be getting a fresh Zoom link from Justin. For anyone who is not received that, please reach out to Justin as well, and he can send the new Zoom link as well. So go through the same process that you would to normally be able to join the work session. Representative Sylvester? Unless you're coming back with news that we've been able to get Senator Guerin magically in and I've not seen her on the screen.
That is not the case. However, it did occur to me that she could call in and register her so that she could participate and register her votes afterwards, because Justin will also have to send out to the interested party list.
Yeah.
for all the folks who are currently on this meeting. So I throw that out.
Let's see what Justin says coming back from IT. I know he's on the phone with him right now. I would say for everyone, for committee members, let's just intend to a 30-minute break, and then please check your inboxes for what we've decided to do, whether it will be the same link, and we'll make it clear in our communications if it's click same launch, or if it's a new link, you'll see the new link, but we will send that out in probably approximately about 20 minutes. So I would say expect to rejoin in about 30+ minutes. If it's going to be longer, we will communicate via email. So any questions? I'm getting a thumbs up and a walking from Representative Warren. I'm getting a good nod from Drinkwater as well as from Gary, and Raiders giving us thumbs up. Okay, we have an informal majority of folks. I'm seeing a little bit of a nod from Representative Prescott. So keep an eye on your inboxes, and we'll circle back in about 30 minutes. And apologies for the inconvenience.
Senator Daughtry, my apologies for the interruption. So I was just got off the phone with IT, and they suggested that Senator Gearin reset her computer because it seems to be on her end, and then re-register, because this meeting was set up as where you had to register. Going forward, we won't have registration, but and just using the passcode to get back in. That's what they suggested.
So let's still give everyone a lunch break. And then the chairs can stay on with Justin and work with Senator Guerin to see once she's restarted. So for now, I guess we'll keep the same link. But again, just keep your inboxes, and if anything changes, we'll notify everyone via email. So with that, everyone go enjoy lunch, and the chairs and Justin and I will, we're gonna stick around and make sure we get Senator Guerin into this meeting. So.
Thank you all.
so I'm in the meeting, they tell me.
Yes, we can hear you, Senator Garin. Yay.
Yay. I'm not sure how to unmute myself. I mean, how to mute myself. It said *6 to, so I'm going to try doing *6 and see if that mutes me too.
Okay.
Okay, that did work. So we're ready to roll.
Perfect.
Sorry about that, Senator Garin.
No problem.
Just want to give a shout out to the IDEA committee and Eva over there. She was helping us out to get Senator Garin back in. So thank you, Eva.
Yay. Thank you, Eva. Okay, we're right at 12:30. So I think we're about ready to jump in. We had noticed go out to the committee. Justin, do we need to shoot a quick email to the IP list that we're still on the same link or not necessary?
Everybody is still here who joined us earlier. So I think we're okay.
It should be good. Okay, with that, bring everyone back in. Or reminder for everyone to come back from our impromptu lunch break. Slowly seeing screens come on. Do we have our bill sponsor, Representative White? Are you still with us? I see you. There we go. Okay. Well,
Yes, thank you. I even have company. This
Oh,
is Benny.
hi,
Benny
Betty.
Benny is patient too, so we did good. Thank you.
Perfect. I have a not so patient coonhound huffing and stomping under my table. So if anyone hears any noises, it's Bailey's fault. I think we're going to jump right back in. For those who are just tuning in, we are currently in a work session on LD 1874. We had broken for caucuses and we're coming back in. We also, for folks, this will be a little bit confusing on the YouTube, but we do have Senator Garin joining us via phone. So you'll hear her voice, but not see her video. We've been having technology difficulties, but we're grateful that we were able to have her join via phone. Representative Sylvester.
Thank you. If you're ready to start discussion.
Ready to jump right in.
Okay, well, I can quickly summarize our caucus. We were interested really in the 60 days, but have in doing some research realized that there might be problems in terms of retirement with anything less than 90 days. And so I don't know whether or not that's going to be a tenable solution, but I don't know. I don't see Kathy Morin with us anymore longer.
I was going to ask Justin, do you know if we would be able to find Kathy Morin? I know she was able to join us earlier, but
Yeah, I'll send another invite.
Thank you. But Representative Sylvester?
And so that posed some difficulties. We had considered perhaps a sunset, but we're really just interested in terms of where our colleagues came before we launched into any serious discussion. Our goal obviously is to get to a unanimous vote, just as we had on the original bill, which is, this bill is trying to put forward that exact same intent.
So I wasn't happy with, this is Senator Garin. I wasn't happy with 60 days, but I could live with it.
Okay.
But that I feel like is a big compromise from us going from 0 to 60. That would be 3 months. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Senator Garin. I would add that the 60 days lines up with the current family medical leave statute of allowability. So that was one area that I was interested in. But I keep coming back to this concern about how it factors into folks' retirement, regardless of whether it's 5 days, 10 days, 45 days, or 60 days. Representative White?
Thank you for working both of your caucuses on this, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure the school educators appreciate the hard work you're doing. Now, I understand, this, there was a 30 days thrown out. And we're looking at 90 maybe for the impact on retirees, but if we can get a unanimous vote on this, would this still be the emergency clause still be in there?
Representative Sylvester, and my quick response to Representative White is I think that's up for discussion.
And I think it's reasonable to get this, if you can get a unanimous vote. I understand the concern retiree wise, but I think it still would work for us with the 60, honestly.
Okay, thank you, Representative White. Representative Sylvester.
In the spirit of compromise, thank you.
Of course. Representative Sylvester, followed by Representative Prescott.
Thank you. I was just going to ask if anybody for whom that did not work could come in and speak, as sort of an informal straw poll. If there's somebody who could not vote with 60 days as the.
I'm not seeing anyone immediately raise their hands. Let's move to Representative Prescott, followed by Representative Bradstreet and Representative Drinkwater.
All right, thank you. Representative Sylvester, where is the money going to come from? I'm very interested that it only comes from the relief fund. Where did you guys land on that?
The money can already come from the relief fund, but we're basically repealing the original intent of the bill, which was to, that if that leaves it up to the other sources besides the local interest of whether they get those funds or not. If they've already spent those funds, then the teachers don't get nothing. If the federal government decides to, no longer allow future funds to be used for that. So I'm really interested in staying on the original intent of the bill. And if there are, and putting in language that allows for that to happen, and perhaps lobbying, but they should already have money from the federal government that allows them to use that if they want to. I'd rather somebody petition if they need, if they were in some sort of crisis, but I'm trying to get as close to the original intent as I can without limiting, teachers, putting teachers in a hard place because that money's already spent or something like that.
Representative Prescott, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. See, that's kind of where I'm on the wall, because now we're going to, I know in my district, schools are about 87 cents on the dollar locally. State puts in, I think it's a couple budgets goes $1 billion every 2 years to the school system. And now you want me to vote for a bill that could easily increase property taxes. And I would think a lot of money went to the schools. I can't imagine they spent it because they were closed. So what happened to all the money that we put in the last budget to support the schools, and they were closed? We got that money, plus you got the relief fund money. Any school that doesn't have any money left, I think we as a committee ought to look into serious. Can you get any place in this area? I just having a hard time voting through anything that may cost us more money, being me, myself, and I, my friends, my neighbors, my family who live in this community.
Representative Prescott, I'm going to jump in and say that I absolutely agree, especially when you consider, what's going on with the cost of schools and the implications on property taxes. But the federal funds are able to be used for this. ARPA is able to be used to that. But the way I understand, especially if you look at the prior bill that we passed, LD 993, there was no cost on that. So it's literally about the mechanism of making sure it's clear in statute that teachers have this ability to take this leave. And that's where we sort of, are back in this position again, just to remind everyone, because of some lawyers who didn't necessarily agree with the legislative intent of the original bill.
Is-
Yes, Representative Prescott.
Is there anything in this that says they have to spend the relief funds first before looking at any other funding?
No, I would defer to others who work, on this, and happy to bring someone in if we want to have this, look into it a little bit further, to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row on that. But that's something definitely we can make sure. And if there's anyone listening who has any information on that, please bring that forward, because that is a good question, Representative Prescott.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, so let's see if we can find out anything on that. And then while we're hoping for some more information, circle back. I do think I had Representative Drinkwater followed by Representative Bradstreet. Did I get that right?
Well, B comes before D in the
Well,
alphabet.
whoever's got their hand up first, so.
Let's go with the Bradstreet first.
Okay, Representative Bradstreet, and then Representative Drinkwater, and then Representative Sylvester.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And getting back to the question from Representative Sylvester, I will reluctantly agree with the 60 days without everything else being the same. I might also want to suggest that in addition to the specific federal relief funds, that we could also put in any motion, any other future funds that may be forthcoming from the federal government for COVID relief. I would like to see that added. I'd also like to say too that, none of us are unaware of the situation that teachers are in, but everybody in the state is in this situation. Workers who don't come under any contract. And we are going to be spending money one way or the other. And if we spend a lot of it in this particular situation, other issues are going to come up where people, they deserve some consideration as well. So that money won't be there. It'll be less apt to be there. So I think this proposal by Representative Drinkwater is a very responsible and reasonable compromise on the part of all of us. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Drinkwater?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In front of me, I have a printout from the Department of Education's website. It's called Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funds, ESSER Fund 1 and 2, updated 1/7/21. Question, how much ESSER funding was provided to Maine? Answer, Maine received $43,793,000 in ESSER 1. In ESSER 2, Maine will receive $183,183. Now, this was updated 1/7/21. I went onto their website. I saw all the schools that have applied for this. I don't know of any school that would be foolish not to apply for this. There's enough money in ESSER to cover this extra time. I'm personally going to have to draw the line because I don't want to see my senior citizens in this town have to shoulder any more of a burden for a class that gets extra days because of COVID related, while the rest of us get 0 days if we're out sick. So that's my information on how much money is available. I would encourage you to go to the DOE website and look it up under ESSER, and you will see how much your district got. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course, Representative Drinkwater, and having spent most of my legislative life in the world of education, I'm very familiar with the ESSER funds and do urge my colleagues, like Representative Drinkwater said, to look at that. And I think it's a good highlight. Representative Bradstreet, I think you're the one who mentioned that we need to make sure that there's language that doesn't preclude future federal funding as well. I know that's information that we can get from the Department of Education, how that works. But in the interest of moving things forward, I think one thing we can consider is come up with a policy that would agree to today and then have this come back for us with language review and have those questions about funding that we've all raised, be brought forward. Maybe we can invite Chelsea Horton Tremblay from the Department of Education, who I know has worked specifically on these funds, but saying that, we all want to make sure that this is not only having, an impact on helping our educators who are, on the front lines and ensuring, not only the educational safety, but the physical safety of our students across the state. But, we understand that we don't want to have this be an additional burden, but that, we do wish we could do, you mentioned everyone else who might not have access to this. I wish there was a way we could get it, making sure that everyone had this, because it's a rough time out there. I think anyone running a small business can talk to you about that right now. But what we have in front of us is dealing with the educators and, you know, trying to clean up a bill that we'd all agreed on before. So Representative Sylvester?
So I appreciate you bringing forward that information, Representative Drinkwater. So were you saying that you would not support the mechanism that you brought forward, or you would support 60 days?
I would compromise on the 60 days, but I will draw the line on how we're going to pay for this. I really want to see this ESSER money to be used for this, which it is allowable to be used.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put forward then a hypothetical and see where that lands us. I'm enjoying this meeting. It's a lot of firsts. This is the first time I've done this either. So my hypothetical motion would be the bill is written with the addition of stripping the emergency, with the addition of having a limit so that an educator must have 60 days banked before they need to use their own time. Otherwise, they would use the 15 days, plus an amendment that would say that any federal funds, ESSER funds, or available state funds that are COVID related should be used first before local funds. Would that be showing, maybe I can see some faces and show, would that be agreeable to folks?
Real quick, I'm going to jump in as chair and say that's agreeable for me, but if we do come to an agreement amongst all of us, I would say that we should keep the emergency on this. You know, if it comes out of this committee with unanimous agreement, I think that's a strong statement. And I know that schools and school boards would be looking to see this. I know this from the education committee when we're dealing with the, you know, we don't finish our budget until before the school budgets. There's always a lag time. So as fast as we can get information to our local districts, we'll make it easier for them. So I would say that if we can get to an agreement, I would personally like to keep the emergency on it. But I have a bunch of hands that have been flying up. So I have Representative Bradstreet followed by Representative Prescott. And then after that, I think I noticed that Kathy Moran from has arrived. So I would like to ask her a retirement question after that.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I think Representative Sylvester mentioned that they would go after the federal funds first. And I think that Representative Drinkwater and perhaps some others of us would like to see those used exclusively rather than any local funds. Just a thought.
Representative Prescott?
Hypothetically speaking, we're getting much closer. Perhaps we could put in something federal funds first, then those other funds, and keep it away from local as much as possible. Actually, keep it away from local altogether, because there should, as we pointed out, Representative Drinkwater, we had what, 126 million or two, what was it? It was 45 and 120 or something. You know, they can't cover teachers with that kind of money, then we need to take a serious look at how the schools are spending it. But hypothetically, we're getting there.
I would like to say, I invite any and all of you to come spend some time with us on the education committee. If any of you would like a one-on-one on the funding formula, which I was part of the subcommittee that evaluated, I am happy to sit down and give you our, done a lot of work on it. So happy to talk about the funding formula. I'm sure I'll get the hook from the rest of the committee and how the money is allocated, but we are getting so much closer to reducing the burden on local taxpayers and meeting our obligations for state's education. And we're actually at full funding for the first time. So I think we're in a good place to be having this conversation with the least amount of impact on our local taxpayers, or no impact. Representative Rader?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I was just looking through the document referenced by Representative Drinkwater, and it seems that there are some fairly to mostly healthy sums included in this funding. And then I got to, I believe it was Mars Hill had $44,000 in awards. So you look at the 12 million that Bangor got, you look at the 44,000 that Mars Hill got, and I'm wondering if we say that these funds need to be used exclusively to fund this, how are the smaller schools going to have an equitable situation in this case? I'm just worried about them running out of money. Thank you.
It's a really good point. I I do see Ms. Moran. I don't know if you're able to join us at all. I had a question about the impact of these days, if they're specified what the impact would be on retirement. So I didn't know if that was something you're able to answer.
So I'm not, I haven't studied this particular bill because it doesn't really pop up in our line of vision, but I've done a quick look at it since Justin asked me to join the meeting. So is the question how sick leave in general is treated for teachers or unpaid days? Can you just kind of frame the question maybe for me?
The question would be, if we're saying, 15, 60 days, like the number we're talking about, are we impacting folks' retirement for how it's calculated? If the language in front of us, would it potentially trigger any changes to retirement?
Is the language an amendment or is the language the bill?
Currently, we're discussing the amendment. We're sort
Okay.
of.
I haven't seen the amendment, but let me just tell you generally how it works. So people who are paid sick leave while they're out, it has no impact on their retirement benefit. They earn service credit for that time, just like if they were working, just like if they're on vacation or anything, getting paid for time like that, it counts as service credit. So whether you allow them 15 days or 60 days of paid time, then they're continuing to earn their service credit. It's a little different if they go unpaid, which I think some people I think part of the bill is trying to address that aspect of it, people who go off payroll, so to speak. And so there are limitations when people are, on what we call unpaid leaves as far as how long they earn service credit, but there is a small window where people aren't penalized for not being paid if they're on a authorized leave of absence. I don't know if that gets at your question.
That actually nails it right on the head. That's what I was wondering about. So it seems like we're not going to necessarily, this conversation here won't impact people's retirement times in the same ways that I was concerned initially.
Yeah, I'm speaking only after hearing about 2 minutes of your discussion and not seeing the amendment. So I'd like the opportunity to see the amendment and to make sure that I'm answering it in the right context. If Steve or somebody maybe could send that along, and then if there's a different answer, I certainly will get back to Steve with that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Moran. And yes,
Thank you.
On the spot, we'll make sure you have the updated language and there's no initial costs. I do see Representative Sylvester, and then before we move on to Representative Sylvester, I do see John Kaczynski has his hand raised from the MEA. I don't know, Mr. Kaczynski, is this about the retirement portion? If you could weigh in.
Yes, Senator, I was just going to raise, I heard Kathy Moran speaking. I think there is a question that she might be best positioned to answer, which has to do when a teacher retires. They can have, I believe what you're asking, Senator Daughtry, 90 days of sick leave counted towards service credit. So if people go below that 90 days, it could impact retirement earnings for the rest of their lives. And then, but there was also a provision, if you were vested prior to 1993, and again, I would look to Kathy Moore, and you were able to accumulate 120 days, which impacts your, again, accumulate, you have to have those on the books, which would then impact both service credit and your average top three. But Kathy Moore would know more about both of those.
Ms. Moran, I don't know if you want to jump in on there.
Sure, that's fine. So I was answering more in the original addressing the concept of people who are working and going out on a leave and the impacts there. John's absolutely right that there are provisions that when people retire, if they have accumulated paid or unpaid leave on the books, there's for some people they can include that time as their unpaid time as additional service credit, which would be used in their benefit calculation. And then for some people, very few now, can include their paid, if they get paid for sick time, which I don't believe most get paid for sick time. I think most get paid for vacation time, for example. But if people have time that they get paid for at retirement, then for some people, they're allowed to include that as a lump sum payment in the calculation, as additional earnings in the calculation of the retirement benefit. So John's absolutely right on that aspect in terms of the potential ongoing impacts of a benefit for members if at the end of their career, they have more or less time on the books, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you. I think that still, I think we're talking about a pretty small group, and I don't think it's going to necessarily have the impacts of the 60 days we're discussing. But I would ask Ms. Moran and Mr. Kaczynski, this is an amendment that's still up for debate and still under consideration. So I say once we come to a conclusion, if you could both take a peek at that and just make sure we're not missing anything.
Happy to.
Thank you. Representative Sylvester?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am going to make a motion.
Okay.
And then we'll have discussion after. So that'll allow us some more time. But my motion is ought to pass as amended, with the amendment being the need to have 60 days in your sick leave portfolio in order to be able to, I don't know why words are escaping me, but they are, in order to, otherwise to be able to use the 15 days, and to direct that funding should be used from COVID related funds by the federal and state resources that have been provided to municipalities. And if necessary, and that is the end of my motion. If necessary, I would include that the towns needed to have a vote, but that makes it local option sales tax at that point.
Yeah, that's getting down.
That gets us into a whole other piece of law. So that's why I'm ending the motion right there, because I think if we direct somebody to do something, that it should include everybody. And I agree with all of the folks who say that these municipalities should have this money. They absolutely should have that money. And so the costs thus far have been very minimal, is what I understand. And so that is my motion, the 60 days and the direction to use the COVID funding first.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Seconded by Representative Drinkwater. Steve, there's no fiscal note on this currently as drafted and presented, correct?
Correct.
I think it seems like we're all circling around the same point. I think I would be comfortable personally moving forward with this, but I'm wondering for language review, if it would be possible to check in with the Department of Education, because some of the ARPA can be used for exactly this. And I do know ESSER and a lot of those others have different strings attached to it. So I want to make sure that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot with our language, and that we're making it clear that we'd like it to come from federal sources, but not potentially limit future federal sources. I think it was either Representative Bradstreet or Representative Drinkwater who raised that point. And I don't know, and invite them if they have any questions about cost. But the thing I want to make clear before we move this to a vote is that, and if there's anyone, we're going through language review, if anyone's watching who can weigh in on this to remind us of how it worked on a cost factor, but there was no cost associated with LD 993. So just want to make sure we know what we're talking about here for implications on our local school districts and taxpayers. Steve?
So one thing that I'm not clear on is the reimbursement part of this. So I know you talked about 60 days sort of being the threshold for if you have less than 60 days, then you're entitled to the 15. The reimbursement would make that a little trickier. So in theory, the person could have already had 60 days, but was in a school district that already reimbursed them. So is it your intent that going forward, if you have 60 days, you're only entitled to those 15 days? So how does the reimbursement factor in the proposed amendment factor in, if the committee's thought about that?
Seems only fair, Steve, that it would be going forward was the intention of my amendment.
Okay, so those who had 60 days would not be entitled to reimbursement? Is that what you're thinking?
So going forward, they would use their own time if they have more than 60 days until they reach the 60-day threshold, and then the 15 days comes in, and then, right, but for the purposes, but that would be going forward from this date forward. And so the reimbursement language of the original bill would then hold.
Okay.
Any other further questions or thoughts on the proposed amendment before us. Representative Sylvester, you'd be keeping the emergency preamble on?
I will, and we'll deal with it on the floor if we have to, but.
Any other thoughts? Before we move to calling the roll, I do want to check because we have Senator Guerin on the phone. Justin, is there a way that, you know, we can attest that it's her to be able to get her to vote?
We can take the vote over the phone, but she'll have to send an absentee, like email verification, just to confirm that this is her selection, as far as I know. But if I'm wrong on that, I'll have to get back to you. But that we can get her vote, definitely.
Okay. Senator Guerin, does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. I think we're gonna call the vote, and I just want to remind everyone that this is something that we are going to be doing language review on. If there's any more information or clarification, obviously the funding portion and the retirement portion is something we'll be sending out feelers on, and especially in the funding portion, as Representative Prescott highlighted. So just, you know, initial vote, and we'll be back soon on that. Representative Bradstreet.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, and I think the language review is very important to me in my final support or non-support of the bill. Thank you.
Agreed. So let's call the roll on this initial vote, and just a reminder to everyone, you know, we can change things at language review and, you know, move things accordingly, but I think we've come to a good place and a good compromise. So with that, Justin, if you wouldn't mind calling the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yes.
Senator Daughtry, yes. Senator Guerin?
Yes.
Senator Guerin, yes. Senator Hickman?
Yay.
Senator Hickman, yay. Representative Sylvester?
Yes.
Representative Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater?
Yes.
Representative Drinkwater, yes. Representative Gear?
Yes.
Representative Gear, yes. Representative Morris?
Yes.
Representative Morris, yes. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott?
Yes,
Representative Prescott,
I was
yes.
confused.
Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren, yes. So we have 13 in favor of the motion.
Thank you so much. It is unanimous of those present and voting. And I think a great example of, you know, why this process is so important, and collaboration and teamwork. And a big thanks to Representative White for bringing this forward, and looking forward to the language review. So with that, thank you, Representative White, and I will close the work session on LD 1874.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And moving right along, we're going to open the next work session on LD 1878, an act to support restaurants in the state through service charge revenues, from Representative Shan, who's with us, but we're going to first go to Steve to do the quick analysis.
Sure. So as drafted, the bill allows restaurants that pay all of their service employees at least a minimum wage to add a service charge, and requires that restaurants notify customers that the service charge does not represent a tip for those service employees. And initially, it said that a restaurant can use the service charge for wages or benefits. The sponsor has presented an amendment that removes the requirement that a restaurant pay its employees the full minimum wage to administer the service charge. The amendment also specifies that tips are not charges automatically placed on a customer's bill. The amendment modifies language surrounding service charges in banquets or private club settings to explicitly say that restaurants may also administer a service charge. And the amendment also removes restrictions on how that employer can spend money received from that service charge. I did include in my analysis some definitions which the committee had asked for. I would note there is no definition for restaurant or banquet or private club setting because there's no definition. The words are interpreted by their common meaning. And I did attach Representative Sheehan's amendment, and since she's here, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. And at this time, I would ask the sponsor to come forward and present a little bit about the amendment, please. And if you can also introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And OPLA analyst Steve Langland for your great help. And I also want to thank the entire committee for a really awesome discussion around the previous bill. It was a lot of fun to watch. So I worked with Steve to draft this amendment to address some of the concerns that we heard in last week's public hearing. As he mentioned, it clarifies the status of many restaurants who actually operate their events as banquet functions. So I feel really good about that. We actually operate our events as banquet functions too. So I think that clarity is important. We being me and my husband at our business. Second, and I think really crucially, this language eliminates existing conflict between Maine statute and federal law with regard to the definitions of service charges and tips. I think this clarification is sort of a side benefit of this amendment, but a really important one. As an operator myself, I am relieved to see language that clarifies these definitions and aligns Maine law with federal law around this. And then finally, the new language eliminates the requirement that operators forego the tip credit in order to collect service charges. I think this answers a lot of the concerns that we heard from operators as well as Hospitality Maine, while still preserving and enhancing the ability of restaurant owners to eliminate pay disparities that lots of us see between front and back of house, and also to eliminate their reliance on the tip credit if that is a priority for them as well. So I feel great about this. I think it's going to be an important lifeline for a lot of businesses, and will offer those who are using service charges to improve pay equity and guarantee their workers a living wage in Maine. So thanks so much for listening.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for the sponsor on the amendment? I just want to say thank you for being willing to compromise and hear what everyone was saying in the industry. And I think as someone else also in the industry and working and dealing with this every single day, the amendment I'm comfortable with, and I think really gets to the heart of what we are discussing and responding to the needs of the industry to be able to have these type of service charges. So I just want to say that I am fully in support of this amendment, and wondering if there's any other conversation from the committee. Or did we get all of our talking out on the last bill? Or is everyone having post-lunch Zoom stupor? Representative Sylvester.
I was going to, allow conversation on this beforehand, but I think it's clear that, that the industry has to be able to have the same ability to put on service charges, to not be limited on how they use it, and this amendment, and to not take up the question of the tipped credit. This amendment does all three of those things, and so I would move on to pass as amended with the sponsor's amendment.
Second that.
Seconded by, I think technically Representative Gear got her hand up first. It was a race. So we have a motion on the floor of ought to pass as amended. Motion made by Representative Sylvester and seconded by many people, but highlighting Representative Gear. Any conversation on the motion before us? Well, I think we're just gonna have to put a service charge on this Zoom for how quiet we're being. Senator Gary, you say something?
Thank you. I feel totally disconnected, I guess I would say. So can we have a report again of what the amendment would say, please?
Absolutely. I would, I don't know if Representative Shan, if you want to jump in.
Sure. Thanks, Madam Chair. In my patently non-legal language, the amendment clarifies that not only private clubs and banquets, but also restaurants can collect service charges and can apply the revenues any way that they see fit. It also eliminates some of the legal conflicts between the federal and Maine statutory definitions of service charges and tips. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very
Took away the tip minimum wage.
Yeah, I
Think
was
it-
going to say the amendment takes out the conversation about the tip minimum wage, which we know is the sticky wicket for a lot of us on this committee, as well as for folks who are contacting us on this bill. So hopefully, does that answer your question, Senator Guerin?
It does. Thank you.
Any other conversation or questions? Representative Prescott, I couldn't tell if that was a leaning forward, ready to vote, or a question about.
I'm ready to vote.
Wonderful. Well, with that, we have a motion on the floor. Justin, would you please call the roll?
Senator Daughtry.
Yes.
Senator Daughtry, yes. Senator Guerin.
Yes.
Senator Guerin, yes. Senator Hickman. Senator Hickman is absent. Representative Sylvester.
Yes.
Representative Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet.
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater.
Nay.
Representative Drinkwater, nay. Representative Gear.
Yes.
Representative Gear, yes. Representative Morris.
Yes.
Representative Morris, yes. Representative Pebworth.
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott.
Yes.
Representative Prescott, yes. Representative Rader.
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren.
Yes.
Representative Warren, yes. So the motion is 12 in favor, 1 absent, 1 not in favor.
Thank you. The yeas have it. I would ask Representative Drinkwater, what would your minority report be?
Yes, ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass. And with that, Representative Bradstreet?
Yes, I think it's a 12-1-1, but I think it should be 11-1-1.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Representative Bradstreet. Any other questions or clarifying aspects? Seeing none, I will close the work session on LD 1878. And we are almost, thank you to the bill sponsor. Thank you for everyone's time. We're so close to the end. We have LD 1879, which I will open the work session on. An act to support law enforcement officers, corrections officers, E911 dispatchers, firefighters, and emergency medical services, persons diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, from our own Representative Sylvester. And I will kick it over to Steve to go over it.
So this bill repeals the provision of law repealing on October 1st, a portion of law that establishes the rebuttable presumption that for law enforcement officers, corrections officers, E911 dispatchers, firefighters, and emergency medical service persons diagnosed as having post-traumatic stress disorder that results from extraordinary and unusual work stress, the post-traumatic stress disorder arose out of and in the course of employment. The committee had asked for additional information from the Maine Municipal Association on the cost to municipalities on workers' compensation and whether that has increased. Kate DeFore followed up with additional information on Friday, and I believe I forwarded you the email and as well as attached it to the bill analysis. Some of the potential amendments I heard discussed at the public hearing were to extend the repeal date out to some indeterminate year, as well as amend the language requiring the report. So I don't know if the committee has thought about if it wants to go in that direction, doing it annually, every 2 years, et cetera. I did also include in my analysis sort of what it looks like, because since it's a repeal bill, this is the section that's being repealed, the paragraph that's being repealed. I believe that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Kick it over to the bill sponsor, Representative Sylvester. You're on mute.
Thank you. So Steve, the original report was 4 years or 5 years?
Oh, let's see. I think it was.
I believe it's 5, but.
Yeah, it was enacted, I think 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was enacted in 17. So yeah, so I think, that we're all, I think enjoyed getting the report. We like, this committee has always liked getting reports. And so the amendment that I would offer is that that every group that is added, and this would be retroactively, should have a similar report at the 5-year period, and that each group should also have a second report on this 10-year period, so that each one of these groups will get a cost analysis in front of whatever the committee is, the form of the committee that deals with these issues, at the 5th anniversary of a group being added to this plan, and then also at the 10-year. And so that way the committee can act on the information that they receive. If they need to make changes, they'll be able to do so. But that, for example, on this bill, we almost missed this sunset because of COVID. And so it allows a bill that seems to be working with maybe a minor hiccup or two to be able to move forward. But for the committee and legislators be able to react to it. So that is what I would offer.
Thank you, Representative Sylvester. Okay, folks, thoughts, feelings, comments, questions? Never letting us have lunch again before we deliberate. Kidding. Representative Pepworth, followed by Representative Bradstreet.
I really appreciate that amendment. I think that brings forward helpful information.
Thank you. Representative Bradstreet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Representative Sylvester, for that amendment too. It's very thoughtful. I do, though, want to mention that some of the people who had questions about the proposal mentioned that we don't really have enough longitudinal data to make a fair assessment of what the costs really are. I would prefer, in addition to what Representative Sylvester proposed, to extend the deadline for 2 more years. Keep the things the way they are, but change the sunset to 2 years from what it is currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bradstreet. Representative Sylvester, thoughts?
I guess my question, Representative, would be the same that it always is. Does that get us to unanimous? Because if it gets us there, I would definitely be willing to think about it. But we might need 3 years in order to be able to collect some data. But to be able to get a little further out, since it took 5 years to get us where we are now. But
I would just jump in from a statistical nerd standpoint. 3 years is much better for that type of data collection on anything, no matter what we're discussing. But Representative Bradstreet and then Representative Cuddy.
I suppose we'll find out from the vote if it's acceptable to everyone. It is to me, that's for sure. And I will let other people, other members speak for themselves if they have any differences of opinion. Thank you.
Representative Cuddy, followed by Representative Morris.
Yeah, I mean, I think the original amendment, as Representative Sylvester proposed it, is perfectly acceptable to me. The idea of just moving the sunset back 2 or even 3 years, the change took place in, yeah, I mean, I think 3 years would be a minimum for me to get on board. But it's a new idea, so I'm contemplating it as we go.
Thank you. Representative Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I would certainly be happy with a 3-year moving out the sunset just to get more data. And it would be, I think we'd be very, very close to a unanimous. I think we would have a unanimous report given, and given how tough that's been to come by on this committee, particularly as it relates to rebuttable presumptions in the workers' comp system, that's a pretty good, I think that's a pretty good day.
Thank you. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes, thank you. And in the interest of finding some type of unanimity here, I will go with the 3 years as well. No problem.
Statisticians everywhere say thank you, Representative Bradstreet. Representative Foster? Oh, Senator Guerin, please go.
Sorry for interrupting. I'm not sure how to handle this on the phone.
Just jump in.
With the amendments as presented, I can support it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator Guerin. Representative Sylvester?
Representative Drinkwater, I was curious on your thoughts.
Well, considering we're all in a get along mood today, I would have to agree that for statistical purposes, 3 years makes sense.
I'm telling you, the get along mood is the way to hammer things out in committee. Bring a little bit of that education attitude over to labor. Representative Sylvester, thoughts?
I would be happy for someone to make a motion with my amendments and that friendly amendment of the 3 years.
Wonderful. Representative Cuddy?
I would make a motion that includes ought to pass as amended. It includes Representative Sylvester's initial amendment with the friendly amendment of a 3 year pushback of the sunset clause.
Do I have a second? Seconded by, that was a lot of hands.
Representative Bradstreet won.
Okay, Representative Bradstreet has seconded the motion while laughing, as we all chuckle. So we have a motion on the floor made by Representative Cuddy, seconded by Representative Bradstreet. Any need for clarification, Steve? Is that?
I think I got it. So Representative Sylvester wants to make it so that there's a report every 5 years, retroactive when a new class, so to speak, is added initially, and then everybody reports at the 10-year mark. And then the date is changed to October 1st of 2025.
Yes.
Representative Cuddy?
Thank you, Steve. Just to be clear, it isn't every 5 years. There won't be a report at 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20. It's just a report after 5 years and then a report at 10, correct? Yep. Okay, yep.
Okay. I think we're ready to call the roll. Justin?
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
Yes.
Senator Guerin, yes. Senator Hickman? Absent. Representative Sylvester?
Yes.
Representative Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet?
Yes.
Representative Bradstreet, yes. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater?
Yes.
Representative Drinkwater, yes. Representative Gear?
Yes.
Representative Gear, yes. Representative Morris?
Yes.
Representative Morris, yes. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott?
Yes.
Representative Prescott, yes. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren, yes. So we have 12 in favor, 1 absent.
Thank you very much, Justin. That is unanimous of those present and voting. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to close the work session on LD 1879, and that concludes our work. I don't know, Steve, do you have any language reviews? Nope. Well, folks, that concludes our work for this Monday. I want to thank you all for your patience during our technology difficulties. And thank you very much for everyone's hard work today and for the great conversations. So with that, I will see you all Wednesday. Have a lovely evening. Take care, everyone.